So I'll start by asking both of you, what attracts you to this topic? Mars colonization, languages and communication beyond Earth. And I'll start with James.
The research that I typically do has a lot to do with science. Rhetoric of science is sort of my main focus. But I'm also interested in how science sort of connects with the public. And I started noticing there were a lot of TV shows, and there are a lot of people like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk who become very interested in creating rockets and going to Mars. So I thought, hey, it seems like something is going on in this current moment with respect to Mars. And it's a place where really science and culture and society interface with each other, because not only do you need the science and the technology to get to Mars and explore it, but you also need people, you need money, and you need political will and input to sort of get these things to go. So I became interested in that because it was a really interesting interface between science and society.
I've never been particularly interested in space travel after, in maybe early high school. I was Star Trek first generation, but then that was long forgotten. But I have been interested in language and in the problem of teaching language and learning languages, and especially in a monolingual situation, which is this case where you're plopped down in a foreign culture, foreign to you, and you don't know their language and they don't know yours. And how do you get the ball rolling? How do you even take the first steps to figure out the language, and then from there, build on what you learned?
I think one of the fascinating aspects of the work that you both do revolves around this very notion of life, intelligent life, but basically just life. And I wonder, James, if this idea of life as an argument, life on a planet where we don't actually know fully well what we're going to encounter, at least from the perspective of life, not purely from a scientific perspective. I wonder how that argument features in your research, how you see it used in discussions and controversies and debates, perhaps even about going to Mars.
What I found interesting in some of the research I've been doing is that the possibility or the presence of life in another place is actually a compelling exigence for people to want to go somewhere else. And I was sort of surprised by finding this out. I was reading some discussions about why, for example, between the 1975 to the early 1990s, there was no interest in going to Mars. There was no interest in having Mars missions. And a writer for the LA Times, a guy named Greg Easterbrook, said, if they would find life on Mars, we'd all want to go there, and we would spend whatever money it took to get there, to see this life, to engage with this life. And it sort of struck me that the sort of interest or the imagination that gets fired up around places like Mars is because of the presence or the possibility of the presence of life.
Because in my case, I didn't start from the idea of leaving Earth. I started from the idea of sending messages, from the safety of Earth. But then not only trying to find life, you're trying to find life that's not only intelligent, but it's intelligent in the right way. So this brings up the whole issue of, universality of language. So in linguistics, it's a big topic. In what way are different human languages, what do they have in common? And do they have some sort of genetic aspect to them that makes humans able to learn each other's languages?